Everyone, and welcome. Hope you are having a great week. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. If you've been joining us for some of the live webinars, I had to do the last one from home because farm kind of emergency. And this week, it's kind of fitting for this one's schedule, is actually down in Tampa, where we're at an investment/technology conference to meet some of the people and the makers and of a lot of the software that we're working with and partners to try to make things better for our clients and help innovate and drive some good change for our clients. So again, thanks for joining us. We'll give people another minute or so to stagger in. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Let's do the entire one. And I just wanted to show you this while we're kind of right before we're getting started. We have a lot of resources on our website. You may have come through here to sign up for the webinar. You can click on here and it'll show if you missed any of the past ones and you want to check them out. We have on-demand ones here that you can check out from tax acceleration and Roth conversions and some of the different things you can do up to learning some more about crypto. It's kind of a medium. It's not totally intro, but I didn't get too much into the weeds. So it's a great one if you want to learn some more, get some perspectives, or sign up for our future ones. I think we've turned it on now, or if you sign up for any of these, you can say, hey, just sign me up for all the future ones. And then you'll get the notices. Attend the ones that you want to. Don't attend the ones that aren't as much interest to you. If you wanted to attend, you got jerked into a meeting or something's happening with the family, we'll send you the recording so you can watch it at your pace as well too. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's see here. Let's get started. Oh, go to the beginning, did I? Okay. And what you're here for, Future of Abundance, Why America Resists Change. It's kind of an odd title, but it's right on point. It's something that I've believed for a long time. And of course, who can predict these things? I mean, whenever you're looking at technology, people will say, well, it doesn't happen as fast, or it's not going to happen. People said we'd have flying cars 40 years ago. Where are they? And some problems are a little bit more intractable than others. And the first thing we really got to look at, let me give you my bluff. I try to do this every time. Bluff, it's my military thing. One of the things I took away that I liked from it, bottom line up front. So to just kind of give you a really fast outline of what we're talking about. So we're going to talk about tech, and how it's accelerating. That's going to be the next slide. Understanding exponential change. How we, this one's very, United States American centric. How we have very strong beliefs and biases, and why we have those things, I think, is going to make us have a clash with some of the opportunities that are coming our way. And that clash, what is it? And of our cultural values, what comes out of that? And then for who could easily be the easiest in position to help us fix that would be leadership, right? But obviously, we kind of know how we're fighting with each other, and we have more politicians than we have leaders these days. And so we'll talk a little bit about the conclusions from all of these things coming together, and that there are absolutely solutions, but we're not ready for them. And you'll see when we go over it, some of these things that I talk about really rile up inside of Americans not being happy about it. They don't want to talk about it. Okay. So let's keep on going here. Let me get back here. Okay. So this first little graph here I have is an important thing to understand, because you may understand it, you may have learned it, you may like some of the things that happen, but we tend sometimes to want to just think linearly. So linear is, kind of what happened in the past is just going to keep on going. We're making progress, but it's just kind of this straight line up, right? And so when we think about, what's going to happen in the next 50 years, we say, well, what happened the last 50 years? And let's just double that, and that's what's going to happen. Right. And so many people fall victim to this in terms of what we had just talked about. Where's my flying cars? Right. Because for a long time, linear trends or exponential trends seem linear. They're kind of on the same path. Sometimes the exponential trend actually goes slower for a while until it builds up and then crosses over and comes up. Okay. And so the real question becomes, where are we on the elbow? Where does the elbow hit? Okay, are we close to it now? Because if we are, then a lot more stuff is going to change a lot faster than you think it's going to change, right? You thought you were going to be here, 20, 30 years from now, but you're actually be way up here and you're like, holy cow, I didn't expect this. What's the equivalent of your great aunt or grandma, coming into the world on a wagon with horses and getting to see men on the moon and all the things that we've done. And it's still exponential. It's even going to go faster than that. So what will you see? What will you see? That's kind of cool. Maybe a little scary too, right? So one of the things we say in our industry, on the investment side of things, is you got to be really careful, because all throughout investment history, people will say it's different this time. So when they're talking about, well, this trend's going to keep on going, or this bad thing won't happen, it's different this time. And generally, that is a huge red flag when somebody says that to you in the investment world. Whenever they say that, then generally kind of run away the opposite way. That can be like a bubble type thing, right? But I'm using it in this technological or socioeconomic kind of shift to say this is different this time. Because when we look at the past, past technological improvements, a lot of times people would say, oh, this is going to take everybody's jobs, or, oh, this is going to do this. But what ended up happening is, it created more jobs or different, better paying jobs. And so, of course, that's happened multiple times now, to where people are like getting into like, that's the normal. That's what's going to happen again. AI and automation are just going to create better jobs. But the reason why I say that it's different this time is because a lot of where it took creativity or human level intelligence to adapt to things, that did not exist. And so it needed us. It needed us to fix the machines. It needed us to do things where the robot could hurt people. It needed us to do art and music. And, it's very much blew my mind how well AI is doing at a lot of these things. I don't think it will be very long before AI can make movies and music at huge quantities that we love. And it would be very difficult to know the difference between what an AI made and what a human made. And so I thought it would take a lot longer for it to encroach into the arts than in the sciences. And actually the opposite is kind of happening. And so that it's getting these things, a lot of these robots that didn't have, the ability to adapt or be gentle enough or learn, the AI is going to go into those robots and they're going to be able to do a lot more things. I mean, I think there's something like 14 different humanoid like robots being built right now. Tesla's building one. And so it's not going to be long before, you see the iRobot with Will Smith and those things helping us and taking construction jobs. We won't even need robots really to drive trucks. They're already doing that already with Tesla and what's so. And that's like the biggest blue collar job there is that pays great, right? And could be gone. So AI and automation will replace, human work at an accelerated pace, because they're able to do that more complex work. And the better it gets and the more it learns, the more processing power it gets. I mean, it could even get to where Ray Kurzweil talked about this, to where it could even simulate, a neural complex. And so it could simulate a brain as complicated as ours, to where it could be absolutely just like us. And as processing power gets better, way more advanced in terms of how fast it can think. And that's what some of the pundits out there are scared of. If you have a general superintelligence that's not good, or doesn't treat us right, or goes down the wrong path, it could hurt us. But it can also do great good for us. I don't think we're there yet. I'm talking about something a lot softer. We're not trying to go way down the rabbit hole on AI and the sci-fi side of things. We're just talking about, you can see it already. And right now, it's kind of a good thing. It's helping humans kind of like cyborg-wise just do their work faster and better. And half the time, it's doing stuff or shortcutting stuff for them that they didn't like doing. So this is not a bad thing happening. So anyways, the thing to think about, though, is as that continues to become cheaper and human labor costs are becoming more expensive for two reasons. I mean, in-country costs are becoming more expensive because, we've seen, all the stuff out there. It's been a long time coming in the United States that, the middle class really hasn't gotten much, raises above cost of living. It's actually lagged behind. And so that's catching up, and there's benefits and, et cetera. It's expensive. People are expensive. And then number two, the emerging economies are developing. It's not as cheap, to hire someone in India or the Philippines or China as it was before. I mean, it's still way cheaper than in developed nations, but it's getting more expensive. And so while the technology's cost is going like this at almost an exponential down or a log, the cost of humans is going up. Okay, not as much as this is going down, but we're probably already, for a lot of things, at the crossover point there. Okay, so keep going forward. So let's go ahead and throw a poll up here. And so we're going to say, what percentage of jobs do you think will be lost to automation and AI in the next 15 years? So I wanted to pick a time frame that wasn't too far out. It's still kind of relatable, but I didn't want to have like too soon, right? Let's give these times some things to sink in. There won't be any loss, the extreme, or the other extreme, huge losses causing socioeconomic collapse without major political and social changes, and then the ones in the middle. So I just want to see what your thoughts are, because personally, I'm curious what people think. So let's leave this out there for a couple more minutes and then see what everybody thinks. All right, let's go ahead and shut it down. So we got 0 votes for there won't be any loss. And we actually got 16% voted for the more than 50%. That's more than I would have thought. But most of the votes ended up on the 5 to 25% split, pretty even between there and there. And I agree with that. But I mean, can you imagine? I mean, even if you said the low end of this or the low end of this and the high end of that, 10% unemployment, and that's like a new normal, like that. I mean, you start to get to the top of this, that's Depression era type stuff. Okay, but the interesting thing is we wouldn't be in an economic collapse. We would probably be in abundant prosperity, because if these robots could work 24/7, except for downtime for repair, and they were more efficient and they cost less, there's going to be a lot more productivity. There's going to be a lot more profits. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And if you really look at a lot of the surveys from people about how much they like their jobs and what so, a lot of people don't like working their job. They're not doing what they want to do. They're doing what they can do that's tolerable, that's the best economic thing for them. So, if people had the means to take care of themselves and to provide for their families, et cetera, then, getting rid of a lot of these jobs to machines isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? So let's hit the next subject. So I want to put that thought in your mind about that this is coming, and it is different this time because the level of intelligence, or how it's copied our intelligence, kind of with those models, that it's going to be different in terms of like how much better it is. If you've interacted with ChatGPT or Gemini on Google, et cetera, you see how great the information you could get at the and like half the time now I just talk to it and it talks back. And sometimes when I'm working out or I'm driving, I'll tell it stuff. It helps me create these presentations, is I'll just talk to it and it's like, sure, I'll put all that together for you. Then when I get back to my desk, I download the doc and throw it like this right here, this Gamma app is an AI builder. I have another one called Beautiful AI. That's another PDF or a PowerPoint builder for presentations. And so, just the how good they're getting is ridiculous. And if it is exponential, how better each model has been from the last, how fast this is going to continue to evolve. And then you can put these brains inside little robots so they can do stuff. That's going to be amazing. Okay, so let's move to the next part. The next part is, it's not a surprise to anyone, but we have really strong beliefs and people believe what they want to believe, right? And it was an important adaptation in evolution that we made kind of all animals, but really culminating with us, to be able to shortcut things in our brain so that we didn't die, or that we could process more things without having to solve everything like we're Socrates or something, right? And so let's just look at some of these common ones right here. And then I'm going to show you a graph of all the different ones that have been identified that help your brain help you live a better life. And a lot of these things, maybe they have their negative consequences, but they help us. They help us shortcut in life to live better, be better. So they're not always good or bad. They just kind of are. Okay. So you see this confirmation bias. We use this all the time. And so confirmation bias is you tend to gravitate to listening or reading, intaking things that confirm what you already believe, right? That's why, social media is probably, when it's so polarized to extremes and only shows you what you like, is so bad, because it's not challenging anything. It's only feeding that confirmation bias for people to believe more in what they believe instead of looking at other things. Anchoring effect. If there's a number out there that's thrown out at the beginning of something, you anchor towards it. So, you go to some place for a car and there's a sticker price on it. When you negotiate, you're probably going to negotiate right off of what that sticker price was, rather than having some information and starting somewhere totally different. And there's lots of different ways that can be used, and a lot of ways that people use that against you in the marketplace. Mental accounting. Humans do this all the time in terms of how we keep track of things, which is not always accurate or going to come out to the best result. Status quo bias. Almost every human has an innate bias to just believe how things are already better, instead of actually, doing the calculations or doing the assessment to see if the new thing would actually be better. Belief bias. It sounds stupid, but it's true. You generally want to keep going down the road of what you believe rather than looking up new information that could challenge that. Zero-sum bias. You see this a lot, and it's not true in a lot of situations. It's like Stephen Covey used to say, if you could try hard enough, there's always a win-win-win, where you can win, your customer can win, your company, everybody can win. There can be a mutually beneficial solution if everybody works hard enough to find it. But so many times people go for win-loss. So for me to win, you got to lose, and that's zero-sum. So interesting, right? That we have these biases that are happening, and it's good to look at them and to understand them, because a lot of times you can't stop yourself from doing it until you know that it exists. And sometimes, not all the time, because they're strong, and sometimes you're busy, you don't have time to look everything over. But when you know them, or you refresh your memory, sometimes you'll catch yourself and you'll change, and that's a whole lot better than it would have been. So I want to show you this. This is all of them. All of them that's on this chart, but I assume this is a pretty good list. I'm gonna make it just a little bit bigger here. Let's see. So we're not, just so you can kind of see. So you can see these are things like, what should we remember? Because we can't remember everything. Think about all the information you've got going on. Tip of the tongue phenomenon, Google effect, next in line effect, absent-mindedness, levels of processing. So look at all of these. These are all things that you and I do that help us like shortcut something and be able to live. Too much information. There's that anchoring we were talking about, focusing, framing, confirmation bias, congruence bias. Down here, these ones, not enough meaning, So you say, we imagine things and people we're familiar with or fond of as better. You can see where, prejudice and stuff can come out of that, or xenophobia. Need to act fast. Obviously, these were important historically, so you didn't get eaten, or your ancestors didn't. You don't get hit by a car or crushed by something falling off a. But look, there's so many of these things that our brain does to shortcut things, and they have bad side effects sometimes, a lot of times. And so they're there for a reason. They're not bad, but it's interesting, right? That these things come together. You're complicated. Machines aren't necessarily going to replace you because they're better than you. I think as long as we want to, we could continue to do the jobs if, it's kind of like the Made in America thing, buy American. If we said, I want to do business with a human, that's going to last for a long time. I think there are a lot of jobs that are going to be hard to replace, especially ones with high empathy. where a human wants another human to take care of them, maybe in the hospital, or maybe even with like what I do as a financial advisor, to have somebody, who cares about you talk about things in the goals that you want to know in your family and the things you want to have happen, rather than just a machine. So I do think there will be always room for people to do what they want to do. And I think there's going to be awesome room for people that are entrepreneurs and develop and create new things and, et cetera. So that's not where we're going with this. But I'd say, and of course people would argue with me, but I mean, really looking at this, I think one of the most important beliefs in the United States is, whether people like say it like this, but like so many people believe this, is just the Protestant work ethic. If you work hard and you sacrifice and you study, then you deserve to win, right? You deserve to make money. You go to work, you put in a good career, you build a farm, you started a business, you're successful, you work. If you don't work, if you're on unemployment and you have too many kids and you're on welfare, then you're bad. And so, this is really ingrained in our society, like hard. And I think it's made us very successful. It's not necessarily a bad thing that I'm saying. I think in our country, almost more than any other country, it is just hit in. Protestant, Calvinist work ethic is here, even if you're not Christian. Americans kind of believe in it. I think we kind of flock together for it to a certain degree societally. And so you say, well, who cares? That's not bad. Then you just said it's not bad, So let's do another poll. Poll number 2. See how you feel. Do you believe that hard work, frugality, and discipline are the keys to success? Let's get those votes in. See where we all lie on this. Another minute. Come on, get them in. Win everybody. All right, let's close it down. So interestingly, you voted a little bit different. I threw the third one in there because I didn't just want to make it, you had to choose black or white, right? But still, about 70% of people said yes. And 30% of people said maybe, but there are other important factors, right? Nobody said no. Nobody said no. So again, kind of proving my point here. And I don't think you're wrong either. I absolutely think that is an important reason why we're an awesome country and we built as much as we did. Now you'll see, I've been using AI a lot to build a lot of these. So it's almost kind of like can you tell this picture from that picture, or where's Waldo? So I told it for an old timey black and white picture, do a farmer and his kids with a horse pulling a plow. But the AI put the plow up here instead of behind the horse. So I'm just letting you know, so every once in a while, if you want to pick apart my photos, it could be funny, but it's still a great photo. If I hadn't pointed that out, I don't know how many people would have noticed. Okay, let's keep going. If AI and automation take more jobs, where will people work? Because just like I said before, in the past, when jobs, kind of went away from something that got automated or, got disrupted and transformed, then there were other jobs, or there are other places that people could go. And if you really look at the refuges of where people go when there's like a recession or they're underemployed or there's layoffs, like, the key ones, fast food is like one of the biggest. Servers and bartenders. And, I'll tell you an interesting story about that. I mean, I don't know if you've had the experience yet, but just right across the street from us is a Wendy's, and they have now an AI ordering thing. So instead of talking to a human, when you go through the drive-thru, it asks to take your order. You just tell it what it wants. And I was just there the other day, and I said, I want, a junior bacon cheeseburger. Oh no, wait, make it a double stack. And it put both of them on there. And I was like, take the junior bacon off. And it just did, like faster than the human would have done it. And then it told me my total went up. And so now that probably cut a couple people off of that location. And even if you go inside, there's 3 kiosks where you just tap what you want. They don't take the orders at the actual keyboards anymore. So, I mean, I really think you could see even the cook jobs and the money-taking jobs, everything going away within the next couple, 3 years. And people say, well, I don't know if I would like that. It will be a change, and you'll see. I mean, it is, a capitalistic market. So we'll see what people prefer. But I read a book a while back that talked about that, and I was kind of the same way. They were talking about if you could automate everything to where every restaurant you ever went to, everything was made perfect. It was always sanitized. You didn't have to worry about it not being clean or somebody doing this, doing that, that you might see that as like healthier and better, or, cleaner, etc. And people will start to prefer that. And it might actually be lower cost. And so in that respect, I think there's a good arguments on that people are going to actually think that those automated places are actually superior, okay? But they're going to cost less, and that's a ton of jobs on the bottom that just go away, because generally most of the time, unless, there's lots of unemployment, you can go in and get a job at one of those places anytime. Well, what happens if those jobs don't exist at all? Okay. Server and bartender, I think you see the same thing. I don't think that'll totally go away because I think people do like the interaction. I think it'll be a case-by-case ambiance type thing. I mean, even you look in we have Rebel Rousing Room, which is kind of our fun room with pool and TV and darts. And then we have a little bar over there, and it has a bartesian, and it's just got all the stuff, and you put a little cake up in it and you push a button, and it makes you a perfectly whatever out of like 50 or 60 different drinks that it's got automatically in a couple seconds. And you can choose whether you want a mocktail all the way low, medium, or high. And it's awesome, So anyways, a lot of that's not even AI even, that's just a good idea. Then we got Uber and Lyft drivers. That's a big one. I was just talking to our driver that took me to the airport this morning. Terrific guy, but said, hey, I really wanted to get out of the grind, do my own thing. But it's only a matter of time before that's all gone. If you think about it, half the cost of taking an Uber or a Lyft is the driver. And so I already heard that before the end of the year, Waymo is expanding to more cities, and Tesla is going to launch its robo-taxi. And they have more data than anyone on autonomous driving, and they're pretty much ready. And then not long after that, maybe next year, I don't know how long it'll take, then they're going to allow like Tesla owners to be able on their app to let their car go out and drive and make money for them. And look how many of those cars are already on the road. I mean, there's a fleet ready to go in every city, everywhere right now. So those jobs, I think very quickly within 2 or 3 years could be totally gone. And then truck drivers, I mean, it's a great job. We need CDL people. It's going to take a long time to replace, I think, because there's a lot of niche things on the local deliveries and the concrete trucks and what so. But the long haulers where you just put a thing on the back of them, a trailer, and boom, I think that is going to be an easy target because if these trucks can drive, 20 out of 24 hours a day, don't need to sleep, always driving perfect, the productivity is going to be insane, and we need that too. So again, I mean, thinking about these things, there could be a real problem here because these are jobs where people could flock to in times of need or switch, et cetera. Okay. So let's do another poll. What do you think in general? Obviously, we're not looking for individual examples. There's always exceptions. But what do you think in general of someone who hasn't had a job in over a year, but they still want one, but they just can't get one, right? I'm not going to bias you. Let you vote. Let you vote on it. Let's get them in. Let's see how you feel. All right, another minute. Let's get it in. Get them in. I mean, truly, you don't got to give us the PC answer. How do you feel? All right. Well, let's give it one more second. End it out. Go ahead and end it, Dylan. So really, we only got two different answers. They're lazy, they're playing the system. Okay, and so this is how we feel about it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I feel that way a lot of times too, even though I'm giving this presentation and trying to open a little bit of horizons about what's going to happen in the future. And I do think there are more people that in the past that are like that than what's going to happen in the future. Okay, let's get this thing to go forward. Okay, and so again, kind of looking at us culturally as a country in general, obviously we got a lot of personalities and people that are all kinds of diversity around our country and what's so. But I think together as a country, we absolutely, put people up on a pedestal that are successful or rich, famous, et cetera, more than a lot of other societies or cultures or countries. And that, obviously, I think we have some compassion. Americans, I think, give more charitably than just about any other country. But we do have a tendency to look down on people on the bottom, almost to a point that, at some point they probably deserved it if they just work harder or whatever, or they'd be farther up, right? So again, I'm not going to beat on this. I'm just talking about, how are these things culturally going to come together when and if and when we have this problem of more unemployment because of the good automation, AI, et cetera. And so I really think, unfortunately, I mean, we've been seeing this for a while. I just think the general American populace can't put their finger on what's wrong. Why is it happening? But, the American dream, I think, is becoming harder and harder to attain. Not that you can't. There's lots of opportunities here. There's lots of ways that you can succeed, but it's getting harder. It's getting lower probability, or you're not going to be able to catapult as far. And I think really where you're seeing some of this is the increasing wealth and income inequality. And unfortunately, what that leads to is, our ultra wealthy owning a lot of the things that are making a lot of our extra productivity, like Elon and Bezos and whatso, to where they own all the AI, they own all of the servers and processing units, and where a lot of this wealth is going to be captured, at least in the interim. And then jobs are going to become less available. So job availability has probably already come down, but it's not a ton to where people really notice it or it's hurting people. We have low unemployment. That's great, right? But availability is becoming less. And then the political and economic influences. I mean, if you really look at our political system, we have given a lot more power to, like, I think I will start to hit on it on the next slide, to PACs and super PACs and corporations, and even foreign money can mess with our elections. And so most of our representatives now are largely independent or independently wealthy, or they're beholden to those that are, right? They have big influence, and that gives less to the regular people like us, right? And so unfortunately as well, they want to make money. And of course, our society is about that, right? Becoming successful, becoming wealthy. The dynamics of how they raise the most money a lot of times is from polarization, getting to the extremes rather than coming to the middle. And so unfortunately, all of these things kind of lead away from the solutions to these problems, like leaders, helping to not take away from people that have been successful and done a great job, but to balance the scales a little bit, because a lot of the productivities that are going to come from these things are going to go to the people that own them, right? And if you don't have a lot of money and you can't own them, you're not going to benefit from them, and you're going to lose to them if they take your job, and you can't invest in them to earn what they make, right? So really just kind of looking at the key takeaways here, okay? If you're just looking across the things we talked about. So higher unemployment, we don't know where we are on that exponential trend. Are we hitting the elbow where it's going to take off? Are we still kind of on the linear thing, and it'll be 10 or 15 years before it takes off? But higher unemployment is likely eventually. And it is different this time because it's going to be smart automation. It's not just dumb robots that some computer programmed that can only do one or two things, and if it gets thrown something different, it doesn't know what to do. These things are going to be able to work their way through the problems and figure it out. And they can work a lot more for a lot less than we can. Wealth concentration. So the wealth of the world is getting concentrated in the hands of the few. I mean, I just saw a thing the other day where it's like the top 4 wealthiest people in the United States own more than the bottom 60%. And so it's like, 4 people own more than like 180 million. Okay. So right now, our wealth inequality is worse than it was in like England and France when all of us fled from over there to come the hell over here so that we would have some opportunity. And now it's worse here than it was then. Now again, we have a much better life. There still is opportunity to do good. And I'm not trying to put our country down. I'm just saying it's a little bit sad to me that we ran from that. And now it's not this, it took multiple generations, but we're almost creating the same thing. A wealthy elite class that's going to rule us rather than us have built what we built with like a democratic republic, right? And this is an important one because, regardless of which party you like or whatever, labor's losing its influence, right? So if these machines can do the work and you say, I'm going to strike, or, we want to negotiate, we're the ones that make all this stuff. Well, not for long, right? And so if labor loses its influence, and not just labor like unions, I'm talking about we all labor. I'm laboring right now to do this web conference for my company. We all labor until we're retired, and hopefully we help some of you do that. We all labor, to build things and to make things, and we get paid for them. And it's a good win-win-win, right? The company wins, we win, our families win, society wins. But if all that gets outsourced to AI and to automation and robots, and we don't get any part of it, just the rich people that own the company does, there's a big problem. That system will not function for long if too many people get displaced. You can't have capitalism if you don't have people to buy stuff, right? And so that's that next point is capital replaces labor. So instead of you make an agreement with somebody to pay them to help you work, it's now you can own the thing that does the work, right? So it's like robot slaves, basically. So again, I'm not advocating for robot rights, but you get the point, right? And it is owned by the same aforementioned hands of the few ultra wealthy. And so I think the American dream and the Protestant work ethic becomes harder to attain. That's why I said I think in the future, it's not going to be people's fault that they can't get good work or what so. And if we still judge them by the same standards of, well, you don't have a job, you're not trying hard enough, or you're a dirtbag. And it's like 20 or 30, is that percent of our population a dirtbag? No, they're not, but I think it's going to be very hard for us as a country, as a society, to implement some of the things you're going to see next on the next slide. This is some of the stuff that I told you will probably make you mad, that will probably solve the problem, but we're super going to struggle bus, I think, more than any other country because of our values to implement some of these things. Because, we believe in capitalism, we believe in work ethic, and some of the things that we probably need to do eventually, it's going to be guaranteed. I usually say GMIB, so guaranteed minimum income benefit, but guaranteed minimum basic income, same thing, universal income. It's like a minimum amount that everybody gets, right? And there's different ways that people have promoted doing this, like, income taxes will be hard if more income's going away, right? I think Bill Gates suggested, hey, you put a tax on robots or machines that take people's job, right? And that helps, fund the government, fund something like this. Some people say a wealth tax. So since less is going to be based on income, and there's only a few people that have huge wealth, then, if you have more than $40 million, you have to pay an extra wealth tax or what so. I don't know. Again, I'm not telling you what to do, but then maybe there's some minimum. And I think eventually this is going to have to happen. It's just And I think a lot of the different parties see it. I mean, you get to the libertarians, they're just like way on the low end. Like, let's give people $20,000 or $30,000 a year just to be able to make it. You get more way on the left side, and they're like, people need to have a good standard of living. Let's give them 75. So really, it's like, where is that? And then how long will it take us to do it? Because I can see this happening already, that people are just going to think they're, giving out free money, blah, blah, blah. But again, we want to have a middle class. That's another big thing that made us an awesome country, that had consumerism, that bought houses. And if a lot of these middle class jobs are gone, or to robots and stuff, we still want people to have money to buy stuff and to do things. You could still make money, have a job. So if the minimum's 40 and then you make 60 extra, you still have the ability to have that meritocracy. But we'll still. So again, that I want to put in your mind is something that more than likely is going to have to happen in some way or another in the future. Maybe it'll be someone younger like Bernie that's like Social Security for all, just like he said, Medicare for all. And then correcting wealth and income inequality. I don't think we'll totally get rid of this, but just like, instead of it being like this, get them more back to where we were, in the 60s to the 80s, to where it's like, maybe 10 to 100 times more wealthy, not, exponentially more wealthy, and a cultural shift. So I think we have to, it's going to have to change a little bit how we view these things. Like I said, over here, our deep-rooted, almost laissez-faire capitalism, and also that Protestant work ethic is going to make it very difficult for us to do these things. And we were trained, our parents were trained more, and maybe grandparents, to fight the Russians and the commies, right? And so, that going together with this is like a little bit of socialism mixed with capitalism is not communism. Like, we got to understand that, right? And I think it's going to become increasingly more important, because if these robots can make us, 2, 5, I think that it's possible to make 5 to 10 times the productivity that we're making now. Like, should that all just go to the top? Or could we take a portion of that and spread it out? The rich people can still be richer. Or if you're awesome, you're going to make more. But like, we could spread some of that extra, because I made an analogy to someone else. It's kind of like musical chairs. How they keep pulling the chairs out. If we've gone through a couple thousand years worth of human history, and don't mistake, all through that time, we were having different technological advances, from fire to the wheel to weapons to metallurgy to monetary currency. So this is longer than you think, how long this linear technological curve or exponential curve has been going. But it's been almost linear for a long time. You live in a special time in history where you're probably going to get to see that elbow, okay, of where it bounces up on that exponential. So all these humans, all throughout this time, all contributed to us getting to where we are technologically. And now humanity is about to inherit that. And so I absolutely believe in people doing awesome stuff. Like I always say, Elon Musk is not a great human being, but he is awesome for humanity with the things that he's doing and building and his ideas and etc. It's not theirs because they were at a point in time where they could just buy it at the end. All of this stuff, to a certain part, is everyone's. Like, this is all of what we built as humanity from like when we evolved to become like Homo sapien. So again, I like people to think about that, and I absolutely do think that there should be meritocracy and people should get paid for what they have and starting companies and creativity, but there's got to be balance. We are so far out of balance, it's ridiculous. And so, financial takeaways from this shift, since we are a financial company, we help people think about what does it mean to them and what can you do, etc. I think that there will be a lot of new opportunities that continue to arise in AI development, all this automation, engineering, implementation, etc. But I think it finally may, in this tech kind of space, it may shake that last 2 decades worth of status quo and finally disrupt. And so what I mean by that is, phenomenally, Amazon and Google and Apple, they've done a terrific job of when there was potentially a disruptor to them, they strategically bought them and just added them in. So they didn't get disrupted near as much as they could or should have had they not done that so well. And I think it was a good environment for them to be able to do that. I think with AI and stuff, very well could be the disruptor that shakes them, because they may not be able to buy it, or it may be a race to the bottom to where a lot of this stuff becomes free for most people and has huge societal benefits, but it destroys a lot of other things that used to be monetized, So again, I don't know, but I had to say, you think just invest in tech stuff, but ironically, if this really came down through, it could destabilize some of the really highly valued, they're almost overvalued companies right now. And if it shook off a part of their revenues and people are already paying too much for them, you could see huge losses from the tech side of things. Ironically, when tech is doing such an awesome job of transforming, increasing productivity, et cetera. So I would say be careful, because some of these things are counterintuitive. And that is the old creative destruction that they talk about in entrepreneurialism and capitalism. I think a big takeaway from this is if you've already accumulated a lot of capital, so like if you're already retired and you're solid in that, or if you inherited or you saved up a good amount of money, then you're going to be the beneficiary of the shift. Because like I said, not only do you own like these companies that make these monies and make these products, but now they're going to be able to own the labor, and you're going to own it too, right? As a shareholder of those companies. And so these companies are inherently going to become more profitable. Maybe not quite as much if the government or we tax them a little bit more to be able to make up for the negative societal effects that could happen. But still, even if they did that, I think the future would be just as brighter than it was. It's just, if they don't do that and we drag our feet for a long time as a country, if you have money invested, these companies are more and more profitable. You're going to make a good amount of money. So you will become wealthier. You're one of the people becoming wealthier at labor's expense, basically. And so, but the this side of that is, if you're not in the ultra wealthy, then even if you are safe and making money, you're going to become increasingly powerless. So, I mean, even if you look at, Russia, you got, the oligarchs over there that, had hundreds of millions of dollars. You piss Putin off, the next week you could be in a gulag, all your money taken away, and you're dead. So again, I really hope that we never go that way. But I think the more and more power that gets concentrated like that, how can they not wield that power? And I think you're going to see, I think there's going to be pressure on certain communities and even the military to automate as well too, because of the cost savings and because the jobs are dangerous, because humans have biases, but the machines, hopefully, knock on wood, don't. But again, now if machines are in charge, the humans tell them what to do, right? But what humans tell them what to do? The ones that are in charge. And you say, well, that would never happen in the United States. Well, what if, the whole thing swept over with a Congress like right now, and they just changed the law to make anybody in a certain group not a citizen anymore, or this is illegal, immediately that update goes to the robot police forces everywhere implemented. So again, to me, I'm not trying to scare people with dystopian things, but I think increasingly it's very important to vote for representatives, regardless of the party, who promote wealth and income equality. Because if you're not in the ultra wealthy, even if it costs you a little bit extra in taxes, it's going to make things safer for everyone because the power is spread out to us, right? And not just in a few hands. So I guess the thing with that is vote and save. So the more you're able to accumulate as this goes through, the more you're going to be a benefactor, because it will increase profitability and profits, et cetera, to companies across the board. So that's pretty much the end of my presentation on that. I will take questions in just a second. As I was showing you at the beginning, check out our website, check out our reviews. You can schedule a consultation. First one's always free. Even if you decide you want to become a paying client, we have a new freemium that you can join that lets you use our portal and a lot of DIY tools. And we're getting closer to rolling out an AI as well to help. So that'll be cool. A little bit about all the different things that we do. We do all the traditional stuff that a lot of advisors will do, from investments to retirement and estate, charitable. But we also do extra stuff like liability management, cash, tax planning. A lot of our clients do their taxes through us. And of course, we've expanded out since we are net worth full wealth management, helping our clients with their business planning and coaching and consulting, doing their bookkeeping, dovetailing that with the tax preparation, and even payroll and 401k. Lastly here, there's a lot different about us in terms of the fact, I'm not going to dig into it because I do want to take a couple questions, but all the things that we do different from a lot of our other peers. So the slide deck will be available. You'll get the recording of it. You can check it out again. This is our team right now. So advisors and coaches and financial planning, investment management, operations, administration, sales and marketing, technology. Rich, you'll talk to on the phone. D is our executive assistant to all the advisors, helping them stay organized. You can schedule an appointment with this QR code or online, like I said. So let's hit some questions. Let me go over there and find it here. Okay, not a lot. Okay, so let's hit the first one. Would UBI have a major effect on prices and inflation? Could increased production offset it? So it's kind of a loaded question because, and I think it's one of the things that would make Americans mad, right? If we are just asking people, that we're just going to run up more debt and we're going to give people money, that's bad. That's like what a lot of the emerging economies do. That's like rolling their currencies and everything like that. If we were really going to do this and make it sustainable to the problem that I'm talking about, you have to raise the revenue. So you have to cut spending and raise taxes one way or another. There's lots of different ways to do it, to create the extra revenue, to distribute it back out. And a lot of times when you do that, it sounds bad. But again, even if you like, the interesting thing is, if you look at the total ultra wealthy, on average, they grow their money at about 14% per year, whereas people with like, $200,000 to $1 million in investments only grow their money at about 4% per year. So even if there was a wealth tax of like 4% of their wealth every year, they would still get double richer than almost all other Americans with savings, right? So again, if you were to tax this and take it from people that are just going to save it, and you give it to people that are going to consume immediately, like that could actually be really stimulative. And a lot of people ignore that. They really just jump back to that 80s trickle down type thing. And there is an effect from that when you invest in that. And if they tax it, it wouldn't be invested. But I think the stimulative power of the consumerism is a good bit stronger than that. So to me, that would be the way to do it. It's not to run up more debt. That's unsustainable. It is to actually have the revenue and then put it out to where it's going to be spent. And that's good. So let's see. Do you think freelance work and contract work will become the norm? I don't know, because that's more of what's happening with the tax code and with businesses and with people's preference, which I really think does come from that. I mean, you see a lot more 1099 now that you've got like the QBI deduction, the qualified business income deduction, the 20% thing, that companies, they're like, all right, let's get them off our payroll taxes. They get this tax deduction. Everybody's happy. So you saw a lot more 1099 type work. And then, of course, in some industries beyond just the tax side of things, there's liability, et cetera. So I think when you see exactly how people are going to get taxed, how the law goes liability wise, what some of the states will let them do, because the government a lot of times doesn't want people to be 1099, because a lot of times the FICA taxes don't get paid right, or the workers' comp and this and that. And then there are just workers' rights advocates saying, hey, you're just shirking paying into these people's Social Security, and half of them are not going to claim it. And then they're not going to get Social Security in the future, even though they might want to just pocket the extra money. So in that respect, I don't know where that'll go. That to me seems more of a mixture between the local to the Fed government and how it's interacting with company and people, and then what they choose. So I don't think this trend that we're talking about right here will impact that as much as what I just said. Let's see here. Third question. Do you think that the government should proactively regulate AI job displacement? I don't know. I don't think so, because I do kind of believe to a certain extent in market economy, and I think trying to stop something that's actually really beneficial to business and to even cost us stuff for us, to just stop it based on the fact that we think it's bad, would probably be kind of destructive. But again, I don't know. Maybe that you have to do that because there's no political will once things get bad to do any kind of guaranteed minimum income benefit, right? And so they have to use other levers that are more, politically viable to them to not get elected, right? So in that respect, I do think that the solution to this eventually is some kind of universal basic income. In professionals like lawyers, engineers, doctors, etc., with specific knowledge or that need licensing will be in the same boat with the job market. Absolutely. You can see that now. I mean, Michigan has, and they've had, what's the IBM? Watson. They've had Watson licensed in and he's actually licensed as a medical practitioner, and its diagnoses and all the stuff that it does, is as good as like 2 or 3 physicians put together. And so I think it's hard for humans to totally break the paradigm. So they'll probably still be licensing and, certification, but maybe it'll be more like how the SEC audits us, in terms of looking at the whole practice and how you do in cybersecurity and what's the statistics of this versus that. So I imagine a lot of the same framework will be there, but I said this earlier, I'm frankly surprised at how well the AI is doing creative things like art and music and like even the pictures and stuff. It really sucks at putting words in pictures. I don't know if any of you guys have played with this. This is another AI picture. It sucks at putting words in pictures. It just cannot get the idea of spelling it right when it's doing it in pixels rather than like words. But I mean, if you really think about it, engineering and science stuff is its forte, and there are farms in India and China where there are just people that have law degrees or accounting degrees, and all they're doing is asking questions and correcting they're teaching it. They're teaching it, and it's only a matter of time before it's better. And then the awesome thing about digital like minds is that once you train it, it's good. It's not like ours. You can just copy it. You don't have to grow each one up from a kid to be an awesome 45-year-old doctor with all this experience. Once it's good, we can copy it as many times as we want, right? And then as software processing power gets better, then, I mean, it's hard for us to upgrade our brains, but theirs are getting upgraded all the time. And so again, I don't want us to be as scared of this. I don't think that I'm not as much scared of like dystopian future from AI as like what humans are going to do with it in the interim and to each other. To me, I think we need AI. I think it could be the thing that could stop us from destroying each other in a good way, but you can't ignore the risk. There are a lot of dystopian bad things that can happen, but you gotta black box it and do it the right way. And it does kind of suck that we can't slow down a little bit, because if China beats us to it, that could be very, very bad if they get general AI before us. Whoever gets the first general AI first, that general AI, that super intelligence will probably dominate every other one. And so we want ours to be first and to be able to dominate any other ones that could potentially be bad or be against our interest. And then hopefully we won't be turds to the rest of the world, and we'll help all humans out. Of course, probably do America first, but we could still help other people out. All right, so we hit the end of this. Do check out our future webinars. If you signed up this one for the future ones, love to see you there as well. Let us know if you have extra questions that I didn't get to, or you think about something after the fact. Otherwise, thanks for sharing a part of your day with us. Join us next time for inflation. We're going to catch up on some of the numbers that just came out, plus some of the forward-looking things. And we got a bunch more coming up in the future. So thanks again. Hope you're staying warm. Looking forward to spring. And I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.